Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Lodge, one of the guidance counselors at the high school. Thank you for taking the time to view this streamcast. Today, I wanted to take the opportunity to offer some information and support to families who might be navigating the post-secondary planning process for students with disabilities. We know that students and their families have so many options to consider as they're considering life beyond high school graduation, and we want to be able to help students explore all of those options as they begin to move to the second half of high school. There are so many different things to think about, whether it might be heading off directly to college, considering a gap year, perhaps joining the military or study abroad programs, or even just joining the workforce directly after high school graduation. So, with so many options to consider, we think it's really important that students begin to think about these things and communicate them with their families and their guidance counselor early so we can have plenty of time to explore options. But for the purposes of today, we are going to talk about support services that are available for students with a learning disability at 2 and 4 year college programs. One of the most important things that we want students to begin to think about as they're progressing towards the second half of high school is to really begin to think about the differences between high school and college. Some of those things are obvious. High school is required of students. At the public school level, it's free, and college is voluntary. It's an option that students don't have to take, but they can choose to pursue further education at the college level. Obviously a lot more expensive than a public school education. But some of the other differences that students might not be as aware of is the differences really in how their students' time is structured and what is expected of them at the high school level versus the college level. Whereas in high school, teachers are working with students on a daily basis to try to help support them, remind them of assignments, the support that students are getting in learning centers, really to help them with their disability related needs. Um, Turning in homework consistently. Students are in class for 6 hours a day, whereas in college, students are expected to be a lot more independent. They're given a syllabus at the beginning of a course and are expected to set their own timelines and be aware of their responsibilities and priorities both in and out of a classroom so that they can manage their time effectively. Teachers aren't following up with them if they've missed handing in assignments, and they really are expected to do a lot more independently in order to reach out to a teacher to ask for support and for help. So it's important for students to begin to look at those differences between high school and college and realize where they might need to work on some things to grow towards that level of independence that's required at the next level. As students do head off to college, if they have a documented learning disability, every college has options for students to get some level of support. So, colleges that have what you might consider coordinated services are schools across the board where students might need some level of support, but not an extensive level of support. Perhaps they might need test accommodations, extended time on assessments, or perhaps meeting with a tutor periodically. You're going to be able to find those level of support services at every college out there. For students who might need a little bit more, there are many colleges out there who have comprehensive or structured programs. And these are really more of a high level of support for students. Oftentimes, there is a fee associated with these programs, and there is an admission process to be considered to be a student within the comprehensive programs. But if a student is accepted to one of these types of programs, it might be for a year or a semester or throughout the course of a student's college experience. And they might have the opportunity to have modified coursework, tutorial assistance, meeting with an individual one or more times a week to get support in terms of their time management and their courses, academic monitoring, perhaps note takers, and certainly test accommodations. So there are a good number of differences between what's offered at every college and what is a little bit more structured for students who might need an additional level of support at the college level. Here's a list of just some colleges that you may or may not be aware of that have more of those comprehensive and coordinated support services available to them. A couple of names that you might be more familiar with is Curry College. They have a fabulous PAL program that's great for a certain population of students. Marist College, Westfield State has some fabulous programming for students with learning disabilities, and many, many other colleges in the area and throughout the country. This is just a list of some colleges. As students begin to visit schools and think about their next steps for life beyond high school, as they're doing those visits, I think it's a great opportunity for students to ask questions about the types of support services that are available on any given campus. When you're doing a visit and you're planning a visit to an admission office, you might want to ask to visit their Office of Support Services or Disability Services as well, to begin to ask the types of questions to see what's available for students so they know what might work for them and if the college is a good fit for them later on down the line. So, some of the types of questions that you might want to consider asking are: what types of services does your college provide for students with learning disabilities? Is there a liaison or a coordinator to work with students? Is there a difference between a typical freshman course load and a course load of someone who might be in a program that has more comprehensive support services? Are there placement tests that are required? Is there an admission process to be considered to be a part of a comprehensive or structured program? And then what types of accommodations would be provided for the student? And this is really going to be an important one and a great opportunity for students really to reflect on the types of accommodations that they're receiving at the high school level to determine whether or not those accommodations need to be carried over at the next level. Sometimes students have a lot of accommodations built into a 504 or an IEP, but they're only regularly accessing a handful of those accommodations. So it's a great time to start having conversations with the service providers at the high school as well to determine what really are those areas that your son or daughter might need to continue with at the next level. And then are those types of accommodations offered by the colleges that your child is considering? And then as students begin to navigate more towards graduation, I think it's really important for them to have a really good understanding of what their disability is and what their disability related needs are. Oftentimes in high school, that can take a little while for students to feel comfortable attending their IEP meetings or their 504 meetings and to have a good understanding of what their academic strengths and weaknesses are. But those are great goals for them to work towards before they graduate, to be able to understand what their disability is and describe it to someone, to know the types of accommodations that are going to help them be successful, to have conversations with their guidance counselor about what those next steps might look like, and to begin to do some exploration with your support at the next level. I think these are really important goals to consider as students begin to move forward. In closing, I think just I like this quote: college is a match to be made and not a prize to be won. And I think this really simply speaks to fit, that as students are navigating the post secondary planning process, it's important to think about fit in so many different ways. In addition to thinking about the size of a school or potential majors or what athletic teams are offered at any given school, it's important to think about the academic experience and making sure that it's going to be a good fit for your son or daughter, and make sure that they've got all the right support services that they'll need in order to meet with success at the next level. As you're navigating this process, I'm sure there will be lots of questions that come up. We are happy to help support you in this process and help you navigate it. Please be sure that you are in touch with your child's guidance counselor so that we can help you as you move along this journey. Thank you so much.